Oh, bollocks to that nonsense. Right, William I to Elizabeth II. Here we go. Right, William, Duke of Normandy, 14th of October, 1066, beat Harold, King of England at the Battle of Hastings. Now, just over a couple of months later, William was crowned King William I of England, William the Conqueror. And he spent about the next 21 years of his reign fighting uprisings and invasions, harrying of the north, genocide, naughty boy William. Anyway, one thing William did, he devised the Doomsday Book. Now, this was like a medieval CCTV. It knew who you were, where you lived, and what your possessions were. And apparently it was used for tax purposes. Greedy French bat. Anyway, William I died in 1087, succeeded by his son William II. William Rufus. Rufus, Latin for red, suggests a slightly ginger tinge there. Now, different sort of king altogether. Not interested in the statesmanlike side of it, was mainly interested in sports, hunting, shooting, fishing. Now, William II probably spent a lot of time down the gymnasium with his male friends. I'm not going to say any more of that. I'm an old man getting myself into trouble. Anyway, William II died in the year 1100 in a hunting accident in the New Forest. He was shot by an arrow, supposedly fired accidentally by another member of the hunting party. Now, it has to be said that one of that party was his brother Henry. And Henry and William hated each other's guts. No sooner had William been shot than Henry shot off to London to claim the throne, before William's dead body even hit the ground. Suspicious. Anyway, Henry became Henry I. Henry Beauclerc. Oh, apparently a very vicious man. But something very special about Henry I. He had 2 legitimate children, a daughter and a son. But he also had 24 illegitimate children that we know of. That's 26 children that we know of. I mean, how did he find time to rule? They must have been at it like rabbits. Anyway, Henry I's legitimate son, William, died in the White Ship disaster in 1120. And his legitimate daughter, Matilda, shot off to marry the Holy Roman Emperor, Henry V. So, when Henry died in 1135, there were no heirs to take his throne straight away. Well, Stephen de Blois, Stephen of the House of Blois, his nephew, dashed across the channel and said, "Here I am, I'm your king." And they all went, "Oh, yeah, oh, go on then." Stephen blagged his way to the throne. Oh, still, didn't do much good, because he spent the rest of his reign fighting a civil war, later called the Anarchy, against Empress Matilda and her forces. Anyway, they made up just before his death. When he died, 1154, Matilda's son, Henry, became Henry II. Henry Plantagenet, very powerful king. I mean, apart from England, he ruled most of France, he ruled most of Ireland, he had great influence with Scotland and Wales. I mean, one thing he had though, he had a very careless tongue, because apparently he said, "Will no one rid me of this turbulent priest?" And some of his mates nipped down to Canterbury, and Thomas Becket copped it right on the altar steps. Oh, bloody mess. Henry said, "I didn't mean that." "Oh no, we know you didn't, Henry." Well, Henry married a very powerful woman, Eleanor of Aquitaine. She was previously married to King Louis VII of France. Now, they estranged, Henry and Eleanor estranged, and Eleanor and her sons, Henry Young King, he was called that because he used to rule his king when he wasn't fighting him, and Richard and Geoffrey, they tried to wrest Henry's throne from him. Anyway, when Henry died in 1189, Richard succeeded as Richard I. Richard, Coeur de Lion, Richard the Lionheart. Good King Richard in later tales of Robin Hood, but that's fiction, rubbish. Well, the only thing that Richard wouldn't do for his country was live in it. 10 years' reign, didn't spend 6 months over here, fighting crusades, wars, any excuse not to come back. Died 1199, siege of a French castle, typical. Succeeded by his younger brother, John, King John, John Lackland. Oh, no, not a good king at all. Quite temperamental, quite violent. Barons made John sign the Magna Carta at Runnymede in the year 1215. The Magna Carta, the Great Charter, said effectively that all rich people and the barons had the right to a trial before imprisonment, and all poor people like me and you had the right to obey rich and powerful people and the barons. It's not so good, that, is it? Anyway, apparently all our laws are based on this today, and I can well believe that. Anyway, something else John did, he lost most of his possessions, including the crown jewels, in the wash. Now, I've got the same problem down the local laundrette, but that is careless. That's careless, John. Anyway, John died 1216, succeeded by his son, Henry III. Now, Henry III, what can you say? Henry III, two main hobbies: piety, ruthlessness. He was piety, ruthlessness. Not a great combination. 56 years on the throne. Not surprisingly, at the end, he wasn't that popular. Anyway, he died 1272. Succeeded by his son, Edward I. Edward Longshanks, because he was so tall. I mean, Wikipedia says 6'2". There you go. Edward Malleus Scotorum, Hammer of the Scots. Edward I, he subdued the Welsh. I mean, let's be honest, the Welsh needed subduing. And he built lots of lovely castles in Wales. Conway, Carnarvon, Conway, Carnarvon, because all the signs have got to be in two languages. Anyway, Edward died on a campaign against Scotland, versus the Scots, in 1307. Succeeded by his son, Edward II. Now, the first Prince of Wales. His claim to fame seems to be that in 1314 he lost the Battle of Bannockburn to Robert the Bruce and Itsy Bitsy Spider. I mean, it's not great, is it? Now, Edward, estranged from his wife Isabella, and Isabella and her lover Mortimer deposed Edward II, 1327, gone. Anyway, Edward II died a very unusual death. Now, this includes a red-hot poker right up where the sun don't shine. Ooh. Now, the reason it was done was not for fun. No, it wasn't for fun. It was so there were no marks on the body, so it looked like a natural death. Now, I would ask you, anybody with a look on its, that's a look on its face, body, corpse, did not die a natural death, all right? Didn't happen. Anyway, Edward II succeeded by his son, Edward III. Oh, now, great king. If anybody says, what did Edward III do for us? Tell them, well, he gives us the starting legislation, all the legislation we've got today, tax laws, you name it. The judiciary, the judges, the justice system, he started that. Parliament, very similar parliamentary system to what we've got today. The 100 Years' War against the French, not so good. And the Black Death, we can't all be perfect, can we? Anyway, good long reign, 50 years on the throne. So long, his son, his heir, Edward the Black Prince, can I say that? No, Edward the Prince. Edward the Prince had died before Edward III, so he was succeeded by his grandson, Richard II. Now, young lad, starting off okay, put down the Peasants' Revolt, but then went very odd. Oh, and even more odd, a bit unpredictable. The barons hated him. Eventually, Henry Bolingbroke came down and said, look, Richard, if you sign your throne to me, I will ensure you are safe. All right, so Richard, okay, I'll do that. So Henry Bolingbroke became Henry IV, and for safety, he had Richard taken to Pontefract Castle, and then for safety, he had Richard locked in a room, and then for safety, he had Richard starved to death. Richard, you should have read the small print on that one, didn't you? Henry Bolingbroke became Henry IV. Henry IV, now, leprosy, leprosy, get that toast under the door, no. Anyway, Henry IV, 1399, 1413, succeeded by his son, Henry V. Great soldier. Shit haircut, magic, not battle. Battle of Agincourt against the French, won that, lovely. To follow on much earlier battles of Crécy, Patys. I'm not going to mention any French victories. I'll leave that to the French vloggers, the lying gits. Henry V nearly brought France together. Best of luck on that one, but died just in time. Anyway, Henry V, 1413, 1422. Now, just a quick one. All these Henrys, they're all of the House of Lancaster, the Red Rose, okay? No. Anyway, succeeded by his young son, Henry VI. Not a good king. Managed to start the Wars of the Roses against Edward of York. White Rose, you see? White Rose, Red Rose. Okay. Now, there's a bit of to and fro on the throne here, so I'll go through this fairly quickly. So we got Henry VI, 1422 to 1461. In came Edward IV, 1461 to 1470. Back in again came Henry VI, 1470, 1471. Back in again came Edward IV, 1471. Killed Henry, thank goodness for that. That's done. That's Edward IV then ruled to his death, 1483. Now, when he died, he left his heir, Edward V, young lad, only 13, and his guardian, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. Oh, not a good move. Anyway, Richard, so he's kept safe, put Edward in the Tower of London. Followed shortly later by his brother, Richard, in the Tower of London. Did I say Richard? Anyway, Edward V. Anyway, in June 1483, he had both boys declared illegitimate, right? And then himself declared King Richard III of England. Now the boys seen less and less. By the August 1483, no sign of them. Obviously dead. Their mother, Elizabeth Woodville, thought Richard done it. Richard, I didn't do it. But I would say this here. Would anybody have dared harm those boys without Richard's knowledge or approval? No, God, didn't happen, did it? Anyway, he got his comeuppance because 1485, Henry Tudor challenged Richard at the Battle of Bosworth Field. So, Battle of Bosworth Field. Richard, a horse, my kingdom for a horse. Sorry, Shakespeare, but, Anyway, he didn't get his horse. He was killed, mutilated, dragged from the battlefield, buried under a car park in Leicester. Now, the shame of being buried in a disabled parking spot without a ticket. Anyway, he was found in 2012, dug up, extending parking fines paid, right, and he was put to rest in Leicester Cathedral, where you can see him today for a small fee. Well, Henry Tudor became Henry VII. Now, first of all, he married Elizabeth York. That sorted out the Wars of the Roses, great. And then he reverted to his normal personality, which was counting his money. So Henry VII's counting his money. Then raising taxes, get more money, to count more money. So Edward VII was a miser. Anyway, he died in 1509, succeeded by his son, Henry VIII. Oh, larger than life, Henry VIII married 6 wives. I mean, one's enough for most. 6. First one, Catherine Aragon. Last one, Catherine Parr. And the ones in the middle, beheaded, died, divorced, beheaded. Didn't fare that well, did they? Henry VIII got rid of the Catholic Church because they wouldn't let him divorce Catherine Aragon. Invented his own church so he could marry Anne Boleyn. Nice job if he can get it. Died a gouty, gonorrheic old man in 1547. Succeeded by his son, Edward VI. Now, son of Jane Seymour, the third one, the one who died. Sickly boy, young lad, didn't try, but died in 1553. Replaced immediately by Lady Jane Grey. Lasted 9 days, gone, good record. Then on came Mary, daughter of Catherine of Aragon, Mary I. Bloody Mary, oh my goodness. Now, I like my steak rare, but Mary liked her steak with a Protestant tie to it and grilled. Oh, she was just trying to re-establish the Catholic Church. Oh, anyway, Mary died 1558. Succeeded by a younger sister, Elizabeth, daughter of Anne Boleyn, Elizabeth I. Oh, the Virgin Queen, Gloriana, marvellous, beautiful, very intelligent, played all the leaders of Europe against each other, beat the Spanish Armada, 1588. Sent her captains round the world to discover new lands and new people and steal their treasure. Oh, she was great. 45 years on the throne. 45, not 65, 45. Died eventually in 1603. No heirs, the Virgin Queen's the clue. Succeeded by James VI of Scotland, who became James I of England. Now, James was the son of Mary, Queen of Scots, who was Elizabeth's second cousin, who Elizabeth had executed in 1587. So, what comes round goes round, or what goes round comes round, whatever. James, very, very clever man, apparently spoke 5 languages, one of which must have been Scottish, because I can't understand a word they say. Anyway, survived the gunpowder plot, 1605. I won't mention too much about that. That could be the subject of a later vlog. Very clever man, great statesman. Anyway, he died 1625. Then he was succeeded by his son, Charles I. Oh, very haughty man, very haughty. Believed in the divine right of kings, tried to dissolve Parliament. Parliament would not be dissolved. English Civil War started 1642. Charles and his cavaliers Parliament and the Roundheads, initially, even Stephen, Battle of Edge Hill, no score draw, but then Parliament got clever, created the new model army under some great soldiers, Cromwell and Fairfax and somebody else I can't remember. And eventually, the parliamentarians beat Charles. Charles was taken prisoner, he was tried for treason, and he was sentenced to death. And on a cold January morning, 1649, on a scaffold outside the banqueting house in Whitehall, Charles's head was separated from his body. And Parliament replaced him with nobody. They decided to rule themselves, the Commonwealth or a republic ruled by them, the Rump Parliament. Well, Rump, that sums it up. They couldn't make a decision. Anyway, tea or coffee? No, we can't decide. Anyway, eventually Oliver Cromwell said, enough's enough. Dissolved Parliament in 1653 and became Lord Protector himself. De facto king, so I'll put him in this list. Well, Oliver Cromwell, that was what Charles had done a few years before, lost his head. Oliver Cromwell, they didn't like him in Ireland. They didn't like him in Scotland. But quite honest, we didn't like him much down here. Anyway, he died in 1658. Succeeded by his son, Richard Cromwell. Nickname, Tumble Down Dick. Sums it up to me. 9 months policy, get lost. And invited back Charles's son to come down and become Charles II, 1660, the restoration of the British monarchy. Hallelujah. Anyway, now, the Merry Monarch. Once the Merry Monarch got back, anybody who survived, who'd signed his father's death warrant, was either executed or imprisoned, and even the ones who died, like Oliver Cromwell, were dug up, hung, heads chopped off and put on spikes at the end of Whitehall. That must have put the civil servants off for tea and toast. Anyway, still, he was a very popular king, carried on, survived the plague, 1665, the Great Fire of London, 1666, Samuel Pepys and all that. Eventually, Charles II died in 1685. Now, non-legitimate heirs succeeded by his brother, James II. Now, James tried to re-establish the Catholic Church. James, do you not read history? Anyway, Parliament had none of it. So, they invited down his daughter, Mary, a Protestant, who married William of Orange to come across and take the monarchy. So, William of Orange landed Brixham, 1688, the glorious revolution, James buggered off, William and Mary, joint monarchs, crowned 1689, William III, Mary II. Anyway, unfortunately, Mary died 1694. William carried on by himself. William III carried on, he died 1702. Now, no heirs, replaced by Mary's sister Anne. Great furniture, Queen Anne, great furniture, great architecture, but quite a sickly woman. Had lots and lots of children, but none of them, hardly of them, survived infancy. So she was on the throne when Union of Scotland and England, 1707, Great Britain, ruled Britannia, died in 1714 without an heir. So Parliament invited across the Elector of Hanover to come and become George I. Now, George didn't speak any English, couldn't learn English, couldn't be bothered. Well, I can't be bothered with him, so get lost. So George I, 1714, 1727, succeeded by his son, George II. Now, he's all right. Last British monarch to lead his troops into battle. Battle of Dettingen, 1743. In he went, not quite at the front, but he was there, Also, monarch when Jacobites were put down in 1745. Now, when George II died, he died on the throne. And I don't mean the regal throne, I mean the Armitage Shanks throne. He died on the bog. I mean, his servant thought he looked a little flushed, but not nice. Anyway, so George II, 1727, 1760, succeeded by his son, George III. Farmer George, Mad King George. You've seen the film, Mad as King George? Yeah, Nigel Orford. Great film. Anyway, George was on the throne, American War of Independence, lost the American colonies, very, very careless. Towards the end of his reign, he became slightly mentally unstable. I can't say bonkers, no, not so, mentally unstable. And they had to form what's known as the Regency, where his son George took over as Prince Regent so they could rule while he was not bonkers, not mentally unstable. Anyway, George III eventually died 1820. And George, Prince Regent, became King George IV. Now, George, ladies man, lots of ladies, also built Brighton Pavilion, lovely domes, That's the bride William, not the ladies. That would be a sexy thing, not the lady. Anyway, George IV died 1830. Now, no legitimate heirs, so succeeded by his brother, William IV. Well, the Sailor King, that's all right. During his life, he ruled the Royal Navy at one stage, all the nice boats, all the sail, all that. He died in 1837. Now, no direct heirs, so Parliament invited across Victoria, one of George III's grandchildren, to come and be queen. Well, she came across, a young girl, 19, full of energy, married Albert. He helped her rule. Great. Crystal Palace, great exhibition. But Albert died, 1861. Oh, Victoria, withers, weeds, went undercover almost. People couldn't see her. Well, this was all the time the British Empire was growing, fantastic sight, eventually to cover a quarter of the Earth's surface, all ruled by 3 civil servants in a rowing boat and a soldier on a rusty bicycle. Absolutely magnificent. Anyway, eventually she came out, she was persuaded out of retirement, and back she came, 63 years on the throne, a record at that stage, died eventually in 1901. So any history students out there, you ever asked to name the monarchs of the 20th century, don't forget Victoria, because she was there for a few days at the beginning. Anyway, she was succeeded by her son, Edward VII. Well, little ladies' man, little Langtree, all that. But he knew everybody. He was related to most of the European leaders. I mean, Kaiser Bill, Tsar Nicholas II of Russia, they reckon if he'd lived a bit longer, Great War wouldn't have happened, because he'd have stopped it. Anyway, he didn't. He died in 1910. Succeeded by his son, George V. Now, he didn't know quite so many people, so the Great War happened, and he was reigned during the rise of communism and socialism and fascism, all the isms. Died in 1936. Now, he was succeeded by his son, Edward VIII. Oh, Edward VIII. Now, Edward VIII, a man who thought more about marrying an American divorcee than he did about his family, the monarchy, and the country. Harry, we've been there before, right? Anyway, not even a year gone by, Edward VIII abdicated, went off to marry Wallis Simpson, became the Duke of Windsor, sod off. Right, so his younger brother, George VI, was forced to take over. Now, he didn't want to be king. He was a very nervous man. He had a stutter. The King's Speech, Colin Firth, Eleanor Bollum, whatever she's called. Great film, watch it. Anyway, his wife pulled together, Elizabeth Bowes line, they pulled together, World War II, stayed in Buckingham Palace, bombs coming down everywhere, for the spirit of the nation. He stayed together. However, it took its toll. All that and the very heavy smoking. And he died in 1952. Succeeded by his eldest daughter, Elizabeth, who became Elizabeth II, our own, Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth. She's still there 68 years later. God bless you, ma'am. Long may you reign. That's the end of it today. Now, if you're still here, you must have got great stamina. I'm sorry for all the mistakes I did make, but I'm not doing this again. So I'll hopefully see you on my next vlog, which will be much, much shorter. Goodbye. Oh, thank fuck. I think that was shit, but we'll give it a shot.